Good to see you, Sheila,
Hi,
and
Sheila.
appreciate your time. The kind of run we've seen in Bitcoin very recently, what does it say to you?
Well, it says that it's about simple supply and demand. You've got these ETFs and a lot of traditional institutions now really putting out tremendous demand for this asset. And the supply that comes through miners is nowhere near ready to keep up. You've got really 10x about the demand and the supply at the moment. And we all know what happens to prices in those situations.
Yeah, let's look ahead. There's the issue of halving. Explain that to us and how that could affect supply and demand and also, therefore, prices.
Yes, that's a moment at which the supply gets even less. It actually drops in half. And so you can imagine, again, these market forces may not change. We are expecting to see increased demand from ETFs and other sources. Now, I should note this was expected, and there's a little bit of a lag, but I'd say kind of an ordinary lag. We just got the Bitcoin spot ETF approval back in the middle of January, and now here we are, not even that much later. And I think we're in the middle of what could continue to be another run. Who can say? I guess we'll see.
And of course, Sheila, the big number is November the 10th, 2021, just a shade below 69,000. Are we going to get there? Is that more than just a psychological barrier? And if we do, then what is that telling you about wider adoption?
Well, I think it is a big psychological barrier, and any number, whatever the number was, it would be a psychological barrier. And so, look, if this trajectory continues, I do think we're going to shoot past that. But there's lots of things that could happen in the interim. OK, so particularly here in the United States, you've got regulatory action, regulatory movement, other kinds of pressures. I try never to predict how any of these things are going to play. I will say that what we've seen is that pretty much every time there's a bottom of these kinds of things, it tends to be it's around the prior all-time high. And so long-term demand does seem to be rising for this asset. And that's not just because we have scarcity in supply every time a halvening happens, as you pointed out. I think it's also because there's increased just normalization of this asset and a recognition it's been around for quite some time and it's not really going anywhere.
Have we seen peak fraud cases related to the broader cryptocurrency ecosystem with regard to FTX? And is there reason to believe that we could wake up in the morning, see another failure, and that could upset this entire narrative?
Well, I certainly hope that we have. Let me start by saying that. But my hopes aside, for what they're worth, I do think that we've seen a reckoning of the kind of last generation, if you will, of people who were trying to take advantage. Now, a concern that I do have, and this is not really related to Bitcoin, which I think is a different asset class, but if we start to see a kind of run in some of the other opportunities, the other assets here, will there be a new generation, of folks that come in and try to take advantage? Now, the good news is there has been some more regulation in many parts of the world to prevent that from happening. And there's also just more consumer awareness of the need to be skeptical of anything that seems too good to be true, right? And so my hope is that you won't see that kind of fraudulent behavior if we do wind up in a run that is kind of encompassing a lot of assets beyond just Bitcoin.